Ethan Cole walked through the dimly lit corridors of the space station. He carried his toolkit carefully, the small metal case bouncing lightly in his hand. The station was quiet for now. Only the low hum of the engines and the occasional footsteps of the crew echoed around him. He was called to the armor bay, a place where humans rarely went. Today, he was told, a high-ranking alien guest needed repairs on her armor. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had never met an alien queen before, and the thought of working on her armor made his hands sweat. When he entered the bay, he froze. The figure before him was unlike anything he had seen. She stood tall, almost 2 meters high, with skin that shimmered like crystal in shades of deep purple. Her eyes were a bright violet, intelligent and calculating, yet there was a softness in them that made Ethan's heart beat faster. Her armor was damaged, a few plates dented, and scratches running across the surface, but it still radiated power. Ethan swallowed hard and set down his toolbox. "I'm Ethan Cole," he said quietly, trying to sound calm. "I was sent to repair your armor." She turned her gaze on him, studying him without speaking. Ethan felt exposed, as if she could see through his thoughts. He knelt down to inspect the lower plates, running his hands over the cold metal carefully. "Be careful," she said finally. Her voice was smooth, soft, but it carried a weight that made Ethan freeze. "You don't know who I am?" Ethan looked up at her, surprised. He had expected a command, a royal tone, but her words were almost like a warning, not arrogance. He nodded, though he wasn't sure how to respond. "I just need to fix your armor," he said. "Nothing else." She stepped closer, and Ethan noticed the faint scent of alien perfume, something floral and electric. She watched him work, her hands folded behind her back. He adjusted a plate near her shoulder joint, his fingers trembling slightly. She did not flinch. She did not move. She only held her gaze, sharp and commanding, yet strangely patient. Ethan took a deep breath. He had repaired armor before, but never like this. Never for someone so important. The metal was heavier than human armor, but the engineering was precise. Every joint, every hinge, was made for maximum protection and movement. As he tightened the last screw, he accidentally nudged one of the shoulder plates, making it tilt slightly. "Careful," she said again. Her hand reached out, and Ethan felt a sudden warmth as her fingers touched his wrist. The contact was brief, but it made him freeze completely. Her touch was not soft, not delicate, but firm, like a gentle command. "Sorry," he stammered. "I didn't mean." She shook her head, her violet eyes holding his. "I warned you. You don't know me. Most people are afraid of what I am. They would panic or run. You just work." Ethan looked down at his hands, unsure if he should move away or stay. He felt something strange, a pull he couldn't explain. Her presence was heavy, like gravity. He felt small, human, but also trusted in some way. He straightened the plate, careful not to touch her again. She nodded once, approvingly, and stepped back. The alarm suddenly blared through the station. Red lights flashed, painting the walls in danger. Ethan jumped slightly. She turned her head toward the sound, her face hardening, her hands tightening into fists. "This way," she said, pointing toward the exit. "You should leave before it gets worse." "I should stay," Ethan said, but she shook her head. "I will handle this," she said. "You do not need to see it. Stay alive. Human. That is enough for now." He hesitated, looking at her tall figure, armored and powerful. There was no doubt in his mind that she could survive anything. Yet, the way she had trusted him, even briefly, made him want to stay. He swallowed and nodded, stepping back slowly. As she turned and moved toward the station's central command deck, Ethan noticed something he could not understand. There was a weight in her movements, a sadness she tried to hide beneath the armor and authority. He felt a strange urge to protect her, even though she did not need protecting. She was the alien queen, a warrior beyond measure. He was just a human engineer, and yet, he felt connected to her in a way that made no sense. After she left, Ethan took a deep breath and checked the armor one last time. It was stronger now. The adjustments he made should help her in battle. He carefully packed his tools and looked out of the bay window. Through the glass, he saw her figure moving across the station, a solitary shadow of violet and silver. He remembered her words, "You don't know who I am," and wondered what she meant. Who was she really? Was she only a queen? A warrior? Or something more? He could not answer that now. He only knew he had seen her, touched her hand, and somehow survived the encounter without being crushed by fear or awe. The next morning, Ethan was summoned to the station's upper deck. He was nervous, unsure why he was called again. When he arrived, he saw a group of human officers standing stiffly. In front of them was a tall figure he immediately recognized. It was her. The same alien queen, walking with slow, deliberate steps, every inch of her presence radiating authority. "You are the human who worked on my armor," she said, her voice calm but firm. Ethan nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said. He felt awkward using the title, but it seemed proper. She studied him for a long moment, then smiled slightly. It was not a full smile, more of a small curve of her lips, but it sent a shiver down his spine. "Come with me," she said. "I have something to show you." Ethan followed, his heart pounding. They moved through the corridors, passing alien guards who barely glanced at him. She led him to a private chamber filled with strange machinery and glowing panels. "This is my private lab," she explained. "I need you to adjust something here. It is delicate work." Ethan looked at the alien device. It was intricate, filled with fine circuits and glowing crystals. He had no idea what it did, but he knew it must be important. "I can try," he said. "Try," she repeated, her violet eyes watching him carefully. "But remember, do not touch anything you do not understand, and do not panic. Human fear is easy to see." Ethan nodded and began his work. As he adjusted the device, she stood behind him, watching. Occasionally, she placed her hand lightly on his shoulder to guide him. The contact was brief, but it was enough to make him aware of every movement he made. Hours passed. Ethan worked carefully, sweat dripping from his forehead. She said little, only watching and occasionally offering a single word of instruction. He realized that she trusted him, perhaps more than anyone else in the galaxy. Finally, he finished the adjustments. The device hummed to life, glowing softly. She stepped closer, her hand brushing his as she reached for the control panel. Ethan felt a shock of warmth as their hands touched, and he could not help but look into her eyes. "You did well," she said quietly. "Most humans would have failed. Most would have been afraid. You did not." Ethan felt his face flush. "I was just careful," he said. She smiled again, faintly. "Careful can be powerful," she said. "You do not know who I am, human. But perhaps you are beginning to see a part of me that few have." The moment was broken by another alarm. This time, it was louder, more urgent. She looked at Ethan with seriousness now, her hand gripping his briefly. "Stay close to the walls," she said. "And do not panic. We may need you." "Ah." Ethan nodded, following her as she moved with precision toward the central command deck. He realized then that his life had changed. He had met an alien queen, touched her hand, repaired her armor, and been trusted by someone more powerful than he could imagine. And somehow, he knew this was only the beginning. The station shook as they moved, warning lights flashing, and Ethan held his toolkit tightly. He was a human engineer, unprepared for battle, yet he felt a strange sense of calm beside her. The queen, the alien, The unknown power that she was, had chosen to trust him. And for Ethan Cole, that trust felt heavier than any armor he had ever touched. As they disappeared down the corridor together, Ethan wondered what dangers awaited them, what truths he would learn about her, and how someone like him could possibly survive in a galaxy ruled by warriors, aliens, and kings. He did not yet know the answers. He only knew that he had held her hand, and that was enough to change everything. The next day, Ethan Cole could not stop thinking about the alien queen. Her violet eyes, the way she moved, and the calm authority she carried lingered in his mind. He worked quietly in the maintenance bay, checking panels and repairing minor systems. But his thoughts kept returning to her. He had seen power before, but nothing like hers. It was not just strength or authority, it was presence. She commanded attention without raising her voice. She made humans like him feel both small and important at the same time. As Ethan worked, the station's communication console beeped. A message flashed across the screen. The diplomatic fleet from the Serenth Dominion had arrived. Ethan knew this meant the Queen was officially here. Humans had heard stories about the Serenth, a species that considered humans dangerous deathworlders. They were unpredictable, reckless, and often underestimated. But the Queen had treated him with trust, and Ethan felt a strange sense of pride that she had chosen him to repair her armor. He wiped his hands and walked to the observation deck. Through the large window, he could see sleek alien ships gliding into the station's docking bays. The Serenth fleet was larger than he imagined. Each ship shimmered with crystalline hulls, reflecting the light of distant stars. Human officers gathered, whispering among themselves, pointing at the fleet with a mix of awe and fear. Ethan stayed at the edge, watching silently. Then she appeared. The Queen stepped out of a transport, her armor repaired and shining. The way she moved made everyone stop. Guards straightened. Officers froze. And even some aliens looked surprised. Ethan could see her glance toward the human side of the deck. And when her violet eyes met his, he felt a strange warmth. She was smiling faintly, acknowledging him without words. Later, Ethan was summoned to a private chamber. He entered to find the Queen waiting, her posture calm and commanding. She gestured for him to sit. "You worked well yesterday," she said. Her voice was soft but firm. "I have not seen humans behave with care and respect for such things before. Most fear what they cannot understand." "I just did my job," Ethan said, trying not to sound nervous. "Your job mattered," she replied. "Armor is more than metal. It is protection, life, and power. I trusted you to respect that. Many would have failed." Number 4. A brazen sinner. Number 4. A brazen sinner. Ethan felt his face flush. He looked at her, noticing the small details he had not seen before. The faint shimmer in her hair like tendrils, the subtle patterns in her crystalline skin, and the way her violet eyes seemed to look right into him. "Why did you choose me?" he asked quietly. "I am just a human engineer. I am not a warrior or a diplomat." She paused, as if considering her answer. Then she said, "Because you treat people like people. Most see me only as a queen, a symbol. You saw me as someone who needs help. You did not panic, you did not bow too low, and you did not pretend to be afraid. That is rare." Ethan nodded, unsure how to respond. He felt honored, but also nervous. The weight of her trust pressed on him. Just then, an alarm sounded. The station shook slightly. The Queen stood immediately, her armor plates clinking softly. Ethan followed, carrying his toolkit. "What is happening?" he asked. "We may have visitors," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Hostile ones. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. He had worked on armor and machinery, not battlefields, but he trusted her, and he moved quickly, following her to the armory. She gestured toward a smaller weapon, explaining its controls briefly. Ethan listened carefully, adjusting it slightly so it would function smoothly. "You do not have to fight," she said, noticing his hesitation. "Stay close. Help where you can. Be careful." 70 required. "Help where you can," he nodded, gripping the weapon. He knew he was not trained for combat, but he wanted to be near her, to be useful, even in a small way. The station's lights flickered, and the intercom announced that unidentified ships were approaching. Ethan watched as the Queen moved to the central command deck. She gave orders quickly, efficiently, directing both human and alien forces. Ethan followed, helping relay messages, moving quickly to ensure communications were not lost. As the hostile ships drew closer, she turned briefly to Ethan. "You are brave, human. But bravery without caution can be deadly. Stay alert." Ethan felt a strange pride at her words. She noticed him, and she acknowledged his effort. That alone gave him courage. The first attack hit the station's outer hull. Alarms blared, lights flashed red, and the floor trembled. Ethan ducked behind a panel, checking systems for damage. The Queen moved like a shadow across the command deck, giving orders, coordinating shields, and directing her guards. Her presence was commanding, but also calm. Even under attack, Ethan realized that she was not just a warrior. She was a leader, capable of inspiring loyalty and courage. He helped reroute power to the station's shields, following her instructions precisely. She occasionally glanced at him, her violet eyes meeting his briefly, giving him a nod or a subtle smile. Ethan felt a mix of fear and admiration. He had never worked so hard, never felt so alive. After the first wave of attacks, the Queen gathered the remaining forces. She moved closer to Ethan, her hand brushing his arm lightly as she passed. The contact was brief, but Ethan felt a shock of warmth. He realized then that she trusted him, not just with her armor, but with her life in some small way. "You will do well," she said quietly, just to him. "Do not falter." Ethan nodded, unsure if he could meet her expectations, but determined to try. He adjusted another control panel, rerouting power to the shields more efficiently. The Queen's commands were precise, but she also left small decisions to him. It surprised him that someone so powerful could trust a human so fully. As the battle continued, Ethan noticed something strange. She did not seem like a distant queen, untouchable and cold. She moved with purpose. Yes, but also with care. She noticed him, relied on him, and somehow treated him as an equal, even though he was just a human engineer. Finally, after what felt like hours, the hostile ships retreated. The station was damaged, but stable. The Queen turned to Ethan, her expression unreadable, then softened slightly. "You did well," she said. "Not just with the panels, but with courage. You stayed when most humans would have run." Ethan felt his face flush again. He wanted to say something, but words failed him. He nodded instead. "Come with me," she said. "I have something to show you. A reward, perhaps, for your efforts." She led him to a quiet chamber. The walls glowed softly, filled with holographic displays. She gestured for him to sit. "You will learn," she said, "that humans are underestimated across the galaxy. A few species expect courage, skill, and ingenuity from a human. And yet, here you are, proving them wrong." Ethan looked at her, amazed. He realized that she did not only fight wars, she fought perceptions, prejudice, and expectations. She was not just a queen. She was a symbol of hope and change. "Why me?" he asked again. "Because you see value in effort and honesty," she said. "Because you did not fear me. And perhaps because you are the first human I have met who treats me as a person first, and a queen second." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He realized that this was more than respect. It was trust, a bond being formed between species, between an alien queen and a human. They stood together at the edge of the chamber, looking out at the stars. Ethan felt small, but also important. He had touched her life in a small way, and she had touched his in return. "Tomorrow," she said, "we will discuss diplomacy. Today, you have survived the first test. The galaxy is watching, and so am I." Ethan nodded, understanding that his life had changed. He had met an alien queen, survived her trust, and proved that humans were more than what the galaxy expected. He realized that this was only the beginning, and that the bond between them would shape the future of many worlds. And in that moment, he felt something he had never felt before. A quiet confidence that he could face whatever came next, as long as he had her trust and her presence nearby. The day after the battle, Ethan Cole was back in the maintenance bay, checking the station's systems. The repairs were slow, but necessary. The Queen, Lyra, had requested some modifications to her armor and weapons. Ethan worked carefully, remembering her instructions from yesterday. He adjusted the plating, tested the energy conduits, and made sure every joint moved smoothly. He felt her presence before he saw her. She entered quietly, her violet eyes scanning the room, then settling on him. She moved with grace, each step measured and deliberate. Ethan's heart raced as she approached. "How is it going?" she asked softly, her voice calm. "Almost done," Ethan said. "I just need to finish the final adjustments." She nodded, studying his hands as they worked. She stepped closer, and Ethan could feel her aura, a strange mix of strength and quiet power. She let him adjust her armor carefully, but she did not leave him alone. Her hand brushed his wrist once, as she guided him. The contact was brief, but it sent a shiver down his spine. "You are steady," she said quietly. "Most would tremble in front of me." "I'm just doing my job," Ethan replied, trying to sound confident. "Your job matters," she said. "Armor protects life. Today, you will see why it is important." Ethan followed her to the command deck. The station's sensors had detected a fleet of Karth ships approaching. The Karth were ruthless, a species known for destroying entire colonies. They attacked without warning, and few could stop them. Ethan felt a tight knot in his stomach. He had never been in a real battle, but he knew he had to stay close to Lyra. She had trusted him. "Stay close," she said, glancing at him. "And follow my orders. You can help, even if you are not trained to fight." Ethan nodded. He gripped a small energy rifle, one of the few weapons the station had, and prepared himself. The Karth ships entered the station's perimeter. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed. Ethan felt the floor tremble as the first blasts hit the outer shields. Lyra moved quickly, giving orders. Her voice was calm, but commanding. She directed the station's defenses, her armor glinting under the red warning lights. Ethan watched her, amazed at her focus and precision. She was not only powerful, but smart. She anticipated the enemy's moves, directing human and alien crews alike. "Ethan," she called, "check the shield conduit on Deck 7. Reroute power if necessary." He ran to the conduit, following her instructions. Sparks flew, and the metal panels were hot under his hands. He worked quickly, sweating, adjusting the energy flow to reinforce the shields. A blast rocked the station, and Ethan was thrown against the wall. He groaned but got up, ignoring the pain. Lyra appeared beside him instantly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her violet eyes concerned. "I'm fine," he said, shaking his head. "Stay focused," she said. "We are not done yet." Ethan nodded, his fear replaced by determination. He adjusted the final conduits, and the shield stabilized. Lyra gave a small nod of approval before moving back to the command center. Ethan followed her, helping where he could, carrying messages and guiding injured crew members. The Karth ships pressed harder, breaking through outer defenses. Lyra prepared to board the command deck to confront the enemy directly. She turned to Ethan. "This will be dangerous," she said. "You can stay here, or you can help, but do not leave my side." Ethan swallowed. He knew he was not a warrior, but he could not leave her. "I'll stay," he said. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Then stay close. Watch and act when needed. Do not panic." Together, they moved through the station, coordinating defenses. Ethan helped injured soldiers, rerouted power to shields, and adjusted weapons under her guidance. Lyra fought nearby, not with a gun, but with her presence and her armor's energy systems. The enemy was powerful, but the station's defenders held, strengthened by her leadership and Ethan's careful work. During a lull in the battle, Lyra leaned toward Ethan. "You have courage," she said quietly. "Most humans would hide. You stay. You act. That is rare." Ethan felt his face warm. "I'm just doing what you told me, and that is why it matters," she replied. She placed a hand briefly on his arm. "Your hands can create safety. Your mind can solve problems. Your courage helps others. Never underestimate that." The battle resumed. The Karth attacked in waves, each stronger than the last. Ethan moved quickly. Guided by Lyra's orders, he repaired broken consoles, redirected power to failing shields, and guided soldiers to safe zones. Each time Lyra glanced at him, he felt a mix of fear and pride. He was small compared to her, but she trusted him. At one point, a blast hit near them, sending debris flying. Ethan shielded Lyra with his body instinctively, though she did not need protection. She pushed him back gently, her hand brushing his briefly. "Focus," she said. "Not me, the station." Ethan nodded. Taking a deep breath, he felt his fear fade, replaced by determination. He adjusted a shield panel just in time to block another attack. Lyra's armor glowed brighter as she moved through the command deck, her presence inspiring the defenders. Hours passed, and the station held. The Karth were persistent, but the human and Serenth forces fought together efficiently, strengthened by Lyra's guidance and Ethan's precise work. He realized that he had become part of something larger than himself, a bond between species, a chance to prove humans were more than what others believed. After the last wave, the station was damaged but stable. Ethan checked the systems once more, ensuring that shields and weapons were functional. Lyra approached him, her armor scratched but intact. She smiled faintly, her violet eyes meeting his. "You did well," she said quietly. "Not just with your work, but with courage. You stayed. You acted. You helped. You are rare among humans." Ethan shook his head, feeling overwhelmed. "I just followed your instructions, and that is why it mattered," she replied. She placed a hand on his shoulder again. Briefly, a simple gesture of trust. Ethan felt a warmth he could not describe. She did not need him, but she wanted him near. As the station began repairs, Lyra and Ethan stood together at the edge of the observation deck. They watched the Karth retreating through space. Defeated, Ethan realized that their bond had grown stronger in the heat of battle. She trusted him, and he trusted her. "Tomorrow," she said, "we will speak of diplomacy. But today, you proved something important. Humans can be more than what the galaxy fears. And you are a proof of that." Ethan nodded, feeling a quiet pride. He had survived the first real test beside the Queen. He had learned courage, precision, and trust. He knew that more challenges awaited, but he felt ready, as long as he had her guidance and presence. She turned toward him, her armor still glowing faintly. Rest now, she said softly. Tomorrow, we face new choices. And I want you by my side. Ethan looked at her, feeling a mix of awe and determination. I will be there, he said. And for the first time, he realized that this was not just about repairing armor or following orders. It was about trust, respect, and a bond between two very different beings, a human and an alien queen. The station continued its quiet hum, lights flickering softly, and Ethan knew that their story had only just begun. The galaxy would test them both. But together, they could face anything. He looked at her once more, violet eyes meeting his, and understood that the bond they had formed in the heat of battle was stronger than any armor, stronger than fear, and perhaps stronger than the galaxy itself.